Sure, try. I don't think you can do it. So anyway, hey, real quick, I wanted to touch on this before we talk about Toyota and Aston Martin and maybe how they're connected. I didn't think of that. There's actually a connection between the Toyota and Aston Martin stories that I didn't even think about until now. So anyway, we'll talk about that and more here. But Dodge, by the way, is doing something a little weird. So I came out and spoke out against the Dodge Charger EV thing. And aside from the name actually making sense, Dodge Charger, and now it's electric, so you have to charge it with a charger, I guess. Aside from that, that's the only interesting part of the new Dodge Charger. That is the only part that I think is interesting, because otherwise it's a soulless, boring EV that can't do a burnout, and it's not a muscle car. We went into that. If you want to hear about that, go to the podcast. I defined what a muscle car is since no one else was going to do it. I decided to be the authority here and define that. And per the definition, that is not a muscle car. Also, we canceled Motor Trend because Motor Trend said that despite appearances, it is a true muscle car. So anyway, Motor Trend's dead to me. So the thing is, Dodge is now wanting to lease these cars out. Of course, manufacturers all have lease programs for a lot of their cars. Well, having said that, they realize that nobody in their right mind is going to buy a Dodge Charger EV. And they realized that. So what they decided to do was say, well, hey, we'll lease them out to people and people can then enjoy them and they're not super expensive. And yeah, so here's this. This lease is wild because it basically means you can't actually drive the car, but we'll get you into a low payment. So they're currently advertising, this comes by way of the Autopian again, a special on the Charger Daytona, of course, the EV one, lease payment of $325 per month for 24 months. And that might sound kind of decent for a 670 horsepower, four-door sedan, 0 to 60. I will say the 0 to 60 is fast. 3.3 seconds. It's a boring 3.3 seconds, but, it's 3.3 seconds. And, also aside from the fact that everyone's going to make fun of you for having a thing that makes fake car noises. I don't know if anything is worth that, frankly. You will be ridiculed by everyone. And you will say, oh, I don't care what the haters think. I bought it for me. But deep down, you'll know that you're a fraud. You're a phony because you have fake car sounds on your EV charger. So here's where things start getting a little weird, though, with this lease, because $325 a month, 24 months, okay? That requires a $3,600 down payment, which is a little steep for a lease, at least. And then if you add in a couple other fees, the lease disposal fee, that's $395. That basically then gets everything. When you tack in the rest of the fees here, that gets us up to $491.63 a month. Which again is a pretty heavy amount of money. Granted, you at that point for $400 something a month, you could be financing a car rather than leasing it, and you would be actually contributing to the ownership of that car in the long run. Now, granted, you're probably not going to lease a car that has a $73,000 MSRP, or you're probably not going to finance that, I should say, for $400 a month. But there's plenty of other cool things you could finance for $400 a month. But here is where things start getting weird. When you start reading the mileage requirement on that. So most leases that I've encountered are somewhere in that 10,000 mile range. Somewhere in there. Sometimes 12. You might find a 15. Depends on where you go. But this says, from Dodge, ultra-low mileage lease. It's in the little fine print at the bottom. For well-qualified current owners of a competitive brand vehicle and some of this other blah, 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 blah stuff. But basically what the low mileage lease means is it's 5,000 miles per year. That is half of your standard lease. You go anywhere and you're like, I know people... I've worked with people before who go, hey, I'm a little upside down in my lease. I kind of went over the mileage. And it's like, okay, how many miles did you do? Well, I'm supposed to do 10,000 and I put 32,000 on it this year. And then you go, oh, wow, you're really over the mileage on that. Did you read the mileage? Like, there's a mileage cap there. But here's the thing. So the average person is going to drive 10 to 12,000 miles per year. Probably more on the 12,000 mile mark, which of course is why they set these leases to be 10,000 miles. So there's always there's a little risk of you going over. But 5,000 miles per year is really low, really low. By the way, that's just 416 miles per month or 13.69 nice miles per day. 13 miles a day is how much you could drive the new Charger with this somewhat expensive lease. I don't know who's out there buying these leases. I have a feeling, of course, they're trying to get people in the door with the low sticker number on there. Hey, we can get you into a brand new Charger EV. You're going to love it. What's your monthly? What's your monthly? You always will hear that from car salesmen. What's your monthly? And never shop by what's your monthly, because that doesn't pay attention to like the interest rate or how much down you're putting on or any of that. So yeah, 13.69 miles a day for well over $400 a month. Does that sound like a good deal to you? Because it doesn't to me. And granted, I'm not the best with money with cars. I've proven that, but I'll tell you how to spend your money. So, hey, don't go